So do I think agnosticism, the word, is very useful for people, especially related to the religious discussion? So I did a short video about it. Go watch it before you watch this one. I'll give you an introduction. But it really is the question about whether it's a misleading word, whether it's a product of a corrupt philosophy system. Agnosticism means not knowing. So agnosticism is used by people mainly in a religious context. So again, this is a perfect example of people telling me I can't assume things about groups, I can't put them into groups when in fact they're doing certain things. I can't name those things they're doing and try to organize them for clarity's sake. Agnosticism is a thing. It comes from roughly 1869. Aldous Huxley, okay, not Aldous Huxley, T.H. Huxley, is that his name? Who was a biologist. And so he was a British biologist, a polymath, like a lot of the science philosophers are. But it's very revealing that, again, it's a scientist first doing philosophy second. And so he invented the word agnosticism as a challenge to religious epistemology, whatever that word means. So he argued in 1860 with Bishop Stillingfleet. No, that was Thomas Reed. Bishop Wilberforce. Why are their names always like this? About how Darwin's theory makes sense in terms of the new scientific approach, which was Huxley, and a more conventional religious conservative approach like Wilberforce. I keep wanting to say Stillingfleet. Look it up. Stillingfleet was funny. So this particular debate was really this concretization of scientism. Wow, that's quite a sentence. And that basically means that post the scientific revolution, 17th, 18th centuries, we have the winning over of the masses to what we call the scientific method, but in their everyday lives, which we call scientism. So if the masses go in the laboratory and they look for cures for things, that's science. If they look at planets and they measure things about those planets using telescopes, that's science. If they tell us we don't have free will, that's philosophy. So when you approach these larger questions, you don't know the difference between science and philosophy. You don't know anything about philosophy, so you don't know how to frame the question and then look for the potentiality of the answer. That sounds like Heidegger. So what happened with Huxley is he really set the stage for how the masses got won over. So basically, the popular language games, the large language games, and in no small way, the Western language games, the European and American language games, became infused by a confidence from one way of knowing, not three or four. And so science became the thing they defended. And this was the point Huxley made: is that it was an empirical point. It was we only get knowledge directly from the evidence as you would see the evidence system working in the scientific method. And that's what he said as a biologist. He made it quite clear. He wasn't apologetic about it. The quote about Huxley was focuses on evidence-based claims over absolute claims. So absolute claims were what he saw religious, but also philosophy. And I've always said philosophy and religion go hand in hand. In the past, I haven't liked that they go hand in hand, but it's more that I don't want the products to go hand in hand. The questions inevitably go hand in hand because the philosophy and religious questions would be one like what is free will, what is consciousness, what is the more fundamental way of understanding our experience, what is real measure of language and clarity, and how do we implement that and benefit from that? And then these debates about what is the ultimate good thing, um, the Socratic idea about what good even means, all those things, when they become ultimately fundamental and outside the physical world, start to enter the philosophy realm, assuming you have that system in place, which means you have the ability then to ask the question, understand you're asking it, and proceed into a debate with yourself or other people or even reality itself, which is what I do every day when I'm not arguing with girls. So the word agnosticism presents in two different ways because of this history. It presents as a more literal Greek, which means unknowable, which is actually more like what the people mean when they say I'm agnostic. The new atheist move is to say it's evidential, which is the other definition, which means it doesn't have enough evidence. So there's a huge difference here because in one case you're saying this thing's not true because of evidence, but it could be. And in the first case, you're saying it's unknowable, so a Kantian noumenal concept would fit for agnosticism in that original sense. And so does it matter that there's two definitions? Not really. Does it matter you know the difference? Yes. And and the way I'm going to end this video is explain why I think the second definition, the evidence one, is so bad. And why I've said in the past also, even when I wrote books about this topic that you people don't know I wrote, yet you read them and quote them back to me against me. You use, I don't even want to start that one. We have the second definition, which is not enough evidence, become part of the atheist language game. And so what they mean, whether they know it or not, is I'm holding out. And that's really the best way to put it. And people like Richard Dawkins will literally say this. And I know you're all mad at Richard Dawkins now. He's old. He's OG. He doesn't count anymore. I get that. But yet a lot of new people coming in still rely on that. And they rely on some of his ideas. And more importantly, they say the same thing, whether they got it from him or someone else. Like I get thousands of these comments, especially on the channels where all the comments come from, not this one. And so what I get is often this idea that I have scientific like thinking. Part of that is holding out for evidence. Part of that is understanding that there's a probabilistic universe. Things look the way they are now. That is the only truth you're going to get. If that truth becomes another truth later, I don't even know what this shit means. Like to me, this is the most alien shit I've ever heard. Never liked it. Never agreed with it. Look how big my muscles are. No, my arm looks terrible. I think the biggest mistake, I'm gonna just put it simply, I got it in this video, is another video, and that is that the agnostics and this agnostic position that I've just tried to show you is already a problem. You know, it already has certain issues. It already needs to be more nuanced. It already needs to be something you learn in philosophy and not science. And it's something that needs to be cleared up in your own head and for other people. And the biggest problem is, if I can ever get to it, is that the idea that there is an evidential expectation for a God concept that doesn't work at all, which is what I call incoherent, is laughable. It's the best way I can describe it. Give me evidence for something that has been purposely manipulated so that evidence isn't a part of it. It's one that prevents truth on purpose so that they don't have the kind of skepticism that hurt the church in the past. So you have a God concept that I like to say, you can't have a God that takes away free will, gives you free will and takes it away. That's an analytic error. You can't have your bachelor next door neighbor have a wife. You can call them the fundamental rules of logic, whatever you want to do. But the God concept is so incoherent and so intentionally incoherent that you then can't ask it for evidence. It's a silly expectation and it shows a lack of training. That's the problem. And I know this video is going in another direction. Don't get mad at me. And now all the religious people are going to come threaten me. So that's the answer. That's why agnosticism is difficult. I hope that just complexifies it for you and moves on. Go eat some pizza.